Welcome to Mrs. Bays' 6th grade math video lesson. Multiplication of decimals number 1. Please don't use a calculator, but you may use your multiplication chart. Let's look at our vocabulary for multiplication. We have factor, product, and we need to also look at today decimal places. So here's the example. 0.02 times 3 equals 0.06. So let's look at the word factor. Factors are the numbers that we multiply together. The answer to multiplication is the product. Now let's look at decimal places. Decimal places refer to the digits past the decimal point. So in this case, this example, we look at the first number, 0.02. Here's the decimal point. We have 1, 2 decimal places. So I'm just going to write this over here. We have 2 decimal places. And that means in the answer, we're going to have 2 decimal places. To find the decimal point or the location for it, we start on the right and we count 1, 2, and the decimal point goes in front. So then our answer would be 0.06. Now let's look at an example using the standard algorithm for multiplication. The problem is 0.12 times 0.4, and we're going to find the answer, which is called the product. So when you multiply, you want to look for the number that has the most digits. Well, 0.12 has the most digits, so we're going to put that factor on top. And this factor has 2 digits, so we're going to put it below. But when we multiply with decimals, we have to line up the numbers on the right column. So 2 is in that right column. That means the 4 is going to go right below it. Then the decimal point, then the 0. And now we multiply. Notice that my decimal points do not line up when we multiply decimals. Now, sometimes they can and they will, but they don't always line up. So let's begin our multiplication. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 0 is 0. Notice I have my nice straight columns of work. Now that I've multiplied all the top digits by 4, I'm going to just make a note by marking that out and dropping a 0 to hold place. Now let's go to our next digit. 0 times 2, that's 0. 0 times 1, that's 0. And 0 times 0, that's 0. So now let's add. 8 plus 0 is 8. 4 plus 0 is 4. 0 plus 0 is 0. And let's bring down that last 0. Now we need to go back and find how many digits are past the decimal points. Those are called decimal places. So to find that, we go to the problem. I find the decimal point and I count 1, 2. I find the decimal point and here's 1. So now we put those together or add them together. 1, 2, 3. So I start on the right and I count 1, 2, 3, and the decimal point goes there. Our answer to 12 hundredths times 4 tenths is 48 thousandths. Now let's look at how to work this problem using a different method for multiplication. It's called the box multiplication or the box method. The problem again is 0.12 times 0.4. Those are our factors and we're looking for the product. So with box multiplication, I look at the first factor and it has 3 digits, so I have 3 columns. The second factor has 2 digits, so I have 2 rows. Now, when I put these numbers around the box, I have to ignore the decimal points, just for now. So then that means this is 2. 1, it would then be in tens place. And the 0 would be in hundredths place, but I'm just going to write the 0 here. That means in this second column, I'm going to put 10. And in the last column, we'll bring down the 2. Now in this factor, we have 0.4. Again, let's ignore that decimal point just for right now. 0 is in tens place then, and 4 would be in ones place. So that means I'm going to put the 0 here and the 4 in front of the second row. And now let's begin. When we multiply with the box method or box multiplication, I always suggest we start with the top numbers. So that would be 0 times 0 in this first box, 10 times 0 in the second box, 2 times 0 in the third box. Now let's go to the second row. Start at the top, 0 times 4, 10 times 4, 2 times 4. And now let's go back and multiply. 0 times 0 is 0. I'm going to write that bigger so I know I'm going to use that number later. 10 times 0 is 0. And 2 times 0 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0. 10 times 4 is 40. And 2 times 4 is 8. So now over on the side, we're going to add up all of our numbers that we found. We have 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 40. Make sure we line up those nice columns, plus 8. And now let's add. 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 8 is 8. And 4 we will bring down. Well, now we can't forget that we're multiplying decimals, so we need to go back to the problem and look for our decimal places. So in the first factor, I have a decimal point, and I'm going to count 1, 2. The second factor has a decimal point, and we'll count 1. So together we have 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So now let's go to our problem or our answer, and we start on the right and we count 1, 2, 3. Well, I don't have a number there, so that means I want to fill it in with a 0. And the decimal point will go out in front. In cases such as these, where there's no digit from the problem out front, we need to put a 0 there. That 0 just tells us that this decimal point is supposed to be there. It's not a scratch on the paper or on the on the computer. It's not a smudge or a smear, but it's meant to be there. So our answer to 12 hundredths times 4 tenths is 48 thousandths. Now let's look at what practice I would like for you to do. Please go to IXL for 6th grade math, H.2, multiply decimals. Please remember to go to at least 80%, that'll give you full credit. And if you go to 100%, that will give you a bonus point. Thank you.